I never thought the peace I felt holding the keys to my first home would be shattered by the people who raised me. After 6 years in the Army, I had finally bought a small house with my VA loan. It was mine, a place where I could breathe, heal, and build something real. But when my parents started showing unusual interest in my finances, I brushed it off as concern. I never imagined their concern was actually a plan to take everything I had earned. Before I share what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe if you have not already. You will want to hear how I fought back when my own family tried to steal my future. Let me show you what happens when greed disguises itself as love. The house was nothing fancy. A 1-story, 3-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood about 20 minutes outside the city. The backyard had this massive oak tree that must have been there for 50 years, its branches spreading wide enough to shade half the lawn. When I signed the papers, I stood in that backyard and just breathed. For the first time since coming back from Afghanistan, I felt like I had solid ground beneath me. My VA disability gave me $2,400 a month. The knee injury from a patrol gone wrong and the PTSD that followed me home had earned me that much at least. I worked part-time as an IT technician at a local company, enough to cover what the disability check did not. Between the two, I could manage the mortgage, keep the lights on, and even save a little. It was not much, but it was mine. My family and I had never been close. I joined the Army right after high school, partly to serve, partly to get away from the constant comparisons to my younger brother Kyle. He was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. I was the one who disappointed them by choosing fatigues over college. We saw each other during holidays, exchanged the usual pleasantries, and went our separate ways. There was distance, but not hostility. Or so I thought. The first week after I got the keys, my parents showed up unannounced. My mother, Patricia, brought a casserole and spent the entire visit walking through every room, commenting on the layout, the fixtures, the potential. My father, Richard, sat at my kitchen table and started asking questions about the mortgage terms, the interest rate, how much my monthly payments were. "You should not have to deal with all this financial stress, Sean," he said, stirring his coffee slowly. "Your mother and I could help you manage things. Make sure everything is handled properly." I thought it was sweet in a way. After years of feeling like the forgotten son, maybe they were finally trying to reconnect. My mother kept hugging me, calling me honey, asking if I was taking my medications, if I was seeing my therapist regularly. She wanted to know where I kept my important documents, my bank statements, the deed to the house. "Just in case something happens," she said, with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "We want to make sure we can help if you need us." 2 days later, Kyle stopped by. He walked through the house like he was measuring it, running his hands along the walls, checking the water pressure in the bathroom sink, opening closets. He asked how much the place was worth, what I had paid, whether property values in the neighborhood were going up. "Nice setup," he said, standing in the living room with his arms crossed. "You got lucky with the VA loan." I shrugged it off. Maybe he was just curious. Maybe he was thinking about buying a place himself. I did not read anything into it. That was my first mistake. 14 days after I moved in, I found an envelope in my mailbox from the county courthouse. The return address alone made my stomach drop. I tore it open, standing right there by the curb, my hands shaking slightly as I unfolded the papers inside. Petition for guardianship and conservatorship. The words blurred for a second as my brain tried to process what I was reading. My parents, Richard and Patricia, were petitioning the court to have me declared legally incompetent. They were asking a judge to give them complete control over my finances, my medical decisions, my entire life. I read it 3 times, certain I was misunderstanding. But there it was in black and white. They claimed I was unable to manage my own affairs due to PTSD and combat-related injuries. They argued that I needed a guardian to protect me from myself. My chest tightened. I sat down on the front steps, the paper crumpling in my grip. This was not concern. This was something else entirely. I called my mother immediately. She answered on the second ring, her voice sugary sweet. "Hi, sweetheart. How are you doing?" "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "What is this petition?" There was a pause just long enough for me to hear her take a breath. "Oh, you got that already. Honey, it is for your own good. Your father and I just want to make sure you are protected. You have been through so much, and we do not want you to make any mistakes with your money or your health. We are doing this because we love you." "You are trying to take away my rights," I said, the words catching in my throat. "You are saying I am not capable of living my own life." "We are saying you need help," she replied, her tone sharpening. "And if you cannot see that, it just proves our point." I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. My own parents were trying to declare me incompetent, and they thought they were doing me a favor. The next morning, I sat across from James Caldwell in his downtown office. He was a veterans' rights attorney recommended by a guy I knew from my unit who had dealt with VA issues before. Caldwell was in his 50s with graying hair, and the kind of steady demeanor that immediately put me at ease. He read through the petition carefully, his expression darkening with each page. When he finally looked up, his eyes were serious. "If this goes through, Sean, your parents will have complete control. They can sell your house. They can access your VA disability payments. They can make medical decisions for you without your input. You would essentially lose your legal autonomy." The words hit like a punch. Can they actually win this? "They have submitted some documentation," he said, flipping through the attached papers. "Old medical reports about your PTSD diagnosis, your disability claim, paperwork. They are trying to use your service-related injuries as evidence that you cannot function independently." I felt sick. The very things that had cost me so much, the nightmares, the therapy sessions, the painful recovery from my knee surgery, were being weaponized against me. "What do I do?" I asked. Caldwell leaned forward. "We fight back. We prove that you are fully capable of managing your life. We get current medical evaluations, financial records showing you are handling your bills responsibly, character witnesses, and we find out what their real motivation is, because this does not feel like genuine concern to me." I left his office with a plan, but my mind was racing. Why would they do this? It did not make sense, unless there was something I was missing. That night, I could not sleep. I kept replaying every interaction with my parents over the past few weeks, looking for clues. The questions about money, the interest in my house, Kyle measuring the rooms like he was planning renovations. I opened my laptop and started digging. I pulled up public records, searched for anything related to my family. And that is when I found it. Kyle had applied for a home loan 2 months earlier. The application had been denied due to poor credit and insufficient income. He made decent money as a sales associate, but he had racked up credit card debt and missed payments. No bank was going to give him a mortgage. But he wanted a house, and I had one. My pulse quickened. I kept searching, going through my email spam folder. Old messages I had not bothered to delete. And there, buried 3 weeks back, was an email my mother had accidentally sent to me instead of Kyle. The subject line read, "Re the plan." I opened it, my hands cold. "Once we get control, we will transfer the house deed to you like we discussed. It should not take long once the court approves the guardianship. He will not fight it. He never does." I stared at the screen, my vision narrowing. This was not about protecting me. This was about taking what I had and giving it to Kyle. They were going to steal my house, the one thing I had earned with my own sacrifice, and hand it over to my brother like a birthday present. I scrolled further and found text messages I had missed ones. Kyle had sent to my mother that she had forwarded to my father. He does not deserve it anyway. All he did was sit in a desert. I actually have a life to build. Sit in a desert. Like 6 years of service, the friends I lost, the pieces of myself I left overseas meant nothing. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark, my chest heaving. They had planned this, calculated it. My parents were willing to publicly declare their own son incompetent to humiliate me in court just to give my brother a free house and access to my disability money. The next day I drove to my parents' house. I did not call ahead. I just showed up, walked through the front door. They never locked, and found them sitting at the kitchen table with Kyle. "We need to talk," I said, my voice low. My father barely looked up. If this is about the petition, there is nothing to discuss. It is already filed. Why? I asked, looking at each of them. Why are you doing this? My mother sighed like I was being difficult. Sean, you are not stable. You have PTSD. You cannot handle the responsibility of owning a home and managing money. It is too much for you. I have been managing just fine, I said. I pay my bills. I work. I take care of myself. Kyle leaned back in his chair, smirking. For now. But what happens when you have an episode? What happens when you spiral? You will lose everything anyway. At least this way it stays in the family. Stays in the family, I repeated slowly. You mean stays with you? He shrugged. I need that house more than you do. I am getting married. I need a real home, not some rental apartment. You will be fine. You can find a small place somewhere. I turned to my father. And you are okay with this? With lying to a judge, with stealing from your own son? Richard finally met my eyes. His expression was hard, unapologetic. Kyle needs that house more than you. He has a future, a family to think about. You already got your benefits from the government. You owe us, Sean. We raised you. Everything you have is because of us. I felt something break inside me. This was not a misunderstanding. This was not misguided concern. This was greed, plain and simple. And they felt entitled to it. You are going to regret this, I said quietly. Patricia laughed. Actually laughed. Are you threatening us? That just proves you are unstable. You are helping our case. Get out, my father said, standing, and do not come back until you are ready to be reasonable. I left, but I was not defeated. I was done being the son who took their criticism, their favoritism, their cruelty, and said nothing. They wanted a fight. I was going to give them one. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked with Caldwell like my life depended on it, because it did. First, I went to see Dr. Helen Morrison, a psychologist who specialized in working with combat veterans. She spent 2 hours with me asking questions, reviewing my history, assessing my current mental state. At the end, she wrote a comprehensive evaluation. Sean demonstrates full cognitive capacity, the report read. He manages his PTSD symptoms responsibly through therapy and medication. He maintains steady employment, manages his finances independently, and shows no signs of impairment that would prevent him from making sound decisions. His diagnosis does not equate to incompetence. I gathered every piece of evidence I could find. Bank statements showing I paid my mortgage on time, my utilities, my car insurance. Letters from my employer praising my work performance. A statement from my therapist confirming I attended sessions regularly and was making strong progress. Character references from friends, from my old unit commander, from neighbors who vouched for my stability. Caldwell built the case methodically, but he also prepared for the other side. They are going to paint you as damaged, he warned. They will use your PTSD, your service, every vulnerability you have. You need to be ready for that. I nodded. I had fought in worse battles than a courtroom. I could handle this. The hearing was set for a Thursday morning in late September. I wore my one good suit, the same one I had worn to my discharge ceremony. Caldwell met me outside the courthouse, briefcase in hand. Remember, he said, stay calm. Do not let them rattle you. We have the truth on our side. Inside, the courtroom was smaller than I expected. My parents sat on one side with their attorney, a sharp-looking woman in her 40s. Kyle sat behind them, arms crossed, looking bored. When I walked in, none of them looked at me. The judge, an older man named Harrison, called the session to order. My parents' attorney went first. She painted a picture of a concerned family trying to help a struggling veteran. She submitted the old PTSD reports, emphasized the severity of my injuries, suggested that I was barely holding things together. She made it sound like I was one bad day away from a complete breakdown. Mr. Richard and Mrs. Patricia are not seeking to harm their son, she argued. They are seeking to protect him from himself. Veterans with PTSD often struggle to manage complex responsibilities. This guardianship would ensure Sean receives the support he needs. It was all very polished, very sympathetic, and completely dishonest. Then it was Caldwell's turn. He stood calm and measured and began to dismantle their case piece by piece. "Your Honor, this petition is not about protection. It is about profit." He pulled out the email my mother had sent, the one discussing transferring the house to Kyle. He displayed it on the screen for the judge to see. "Mrs. Patricia accidentally sent this to my client. In it, she discusses plans to transfer Sean's house to his brother once they gain control. This is not speculation. This is their stated intention." My mother's face went pale. My father shifted in his seat. Caldwell continued. "Kyle applied for a home loan 2 months ago and was denied. He has significant credit card debt and a history of missed payments. He cannot obtain a house on his own, so his parents devised a plan to take one from their other son. He presented Kyle's loan denial, his credit report, everything. Furthermore, Caldwell said Richard and Patricia are not in strong financial standing themselves. They currently carry over $18,000 in credit card debt. Gaining access to Sean's VA disability payments would provide them with an additional $2,400 per month." The judge leaned forward, his expression shifting from neutral to skeptical. Caldwell called Dr. Morrison to the stand. She testified clearly and confidently. "Sean is fully competent," she said. "He manages his condition well. There is no medical basis for this guardianship." Then Caldwell presented my financial records, my employment history letters from people who knew me. He built an undeniable picture of a man who was doing just fine on his own. Finally, he turned to my father. "Mr. Celeblanc, Richard, is it true that you told your son Kyle you would transfer Sean's house to him once you gained control through this guardianship?" My father hesitated. His attorney whispered something to him, but the judge cut in. "Answer the question, Mr. Richard." "We were just discussing options," my father said weakly. "Hypotheticals. Hypotheticals that involve taking your son's home and giving it to his brother," Caldwell said flatly. The room was silent. The judge looked at my parents, then at me, then back at the petition in front of him. He took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "I have seen a lot of cases come through this court," he said slowly. "Families genuinely trying to help loved ones who cannot help themselves. This is not one of those cases." He looked directly at my parents. "This petition is clearly motivated by financial gain, not genuine concern for your son's well-being. Mr. Sean has demonstrated that he is more than capable of managing his own affairs. He has stable employment, responsible financial management, and strong medical support. There is no basis for guardianship here." He stamped the document. Petition denied. The relief that washed over me was overwhelming. My hands were shaking, but this time from release, not fear. My parents stood abruptly. My mother looked like she wanted to say something, but my father grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the door. Kyle followed, shooting me a look of pure resentment. They left without a word. I sat there for a moment, just breathing. Caldwell put a hand on my shoulder. "You did it," he said quietly. I nodded. But the victory felt hollow. I had won, but I had also lost something I could never get back. That night I sat down and wrote a letter. I did not send it through a lawyer or make it formal. I just needed to say my piece. You chose greed over your own son. You were willing to humiliate me, to steal from me, to destroy what little I had built, all so Kyle could have a free house and you could have access to my disability money. I served my country with honor. I sacrificed more than you will ever understand. And you tried to use that sacrifice against me. I have nothing left to say to you. Do not contact me again. I printed 3 copies, mailed one to each of them, and then blocked their numbers. I was done. The weeks after the hearing were strange. I had won, but I felt empty. The house was still mine. My money was still mine. My life was still mine, but I had no family left. The people who were supposed to love me unconditionally had shown me exactly how conditional that love really was. For a while I just went through the motions. Work, therapy, home. Repeat. I did not talk about what happened. I did not know how. But slowly things started to shift. I started attending a veterans support group that met twice a month at the VA center. At first I just listened. But eventually I started talking. I told them what my family had tried to do. how they had used my PTSD as a weapon, how they had tried to take everything, and the response surprised me. These guys understood. They had been betrayed too in different ways. Some by employers who fired them for taking too much medical leave, some by spouses who could not handle their trauma, some by friends who saw them as broken. One guy, Marcus, pulled me aside after a meeting. He was older, maybe 45, with scars on his arms and a steady gaze. "Family is not always blood," he said. "It is the people who stand by you when things get hard. Sounds like your real family is right here." He was right. These guys became my brothers in a way Kyle never was. They checked on me, invited me to barbecues, helped me fix my leaky roof one Saturday. They showed up. They cared. My job got better too. I was promoted to senior technician, which came with a raise and more responsibility. I was good at what I did, and people noticed. For the first time in years, I felt proud of myself. Not because someone told me I should be, but because I genuinely was. I started volunteering at the VA office, helping other veterans navigate their benefits claims. I knew how confusing the paperwork could be, how overwhelming the system felt. I wanted to make it easier for the next guy. And in helping them, I helped myself. I found purpose again. The house became a real home. I planted a garden in the backyard, fixed up the spare room, adopted a dog named Riker from the shelter. He was a mutt, part German, shepherd part something else, and he had been abandoned too. We understood each other. On weekends, I would sit in the backyard under that oak tree, Riker at my feet, and just breathe. The peace I felt now was not the fragile kind I had felt when I first moved in. It was solid, earned, real. A year after the hearing, I got a message on social media from Kyle. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. "I know you will not respond, but I wanted to say I am sorry. I was selfish. I let Mom and Dad convince me you did not deserve what you had. I was wrong. I hope you are doing okay." I read it twice, then closed the app. Maybe he meant it. Maybe he did not. It did not matter anymore. His apology did not change what he had done, and it did not change the fact that I was better off without any of them in my life. I thought about responding, about telling him I forgave him. But forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. I could let go of the anger without letting them back in, and that is what I chose to do. I learned something important through all of this. Your worth is not determined by whether your family values you. It is not measured by how much they sacrifice for you or how much they expect you to sacrifice for them. Your worth is inherent. You do not need their validation to live a good life. I also learned that boundaries are not cruel. Walking away from people who hurt you, even if they are family, is not selfish. It is survival. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself when everyone else is asking you to choose them instead. I do not hate my parents or my brother. Hate takes too much energy, and I have better things to do with mine. But I do not miss them either. The space they left in my life has been filled with people who actually care, who see me as a person and not a paycheck. I served my country overseas, fought battles I will carry with me forever. But the hardest battle I ever fought was in a courtroom defending my right to exist independently. And I won. Not because I had the most money or the best connections, but because I refused to let anyone, not even my own blood, take away the dignity I had earned. I still live in that house. The oak tree has grown taller, its branches reaching even further across the yard. Riker is getting older, a little gray around the muzzle, but he still greets me at the door every day like I am the best thing that ever happened to him. And maybe I am. Maybe we saved each other. Sometimes I think about the version of myself that first held those keys, full of hope and unaware of what was coming. I wish I could tell him it was going to be okay, that he was stronger than he knew, that the people who were supposed to protect him would fail, but he would not. I would tell him that home is not just a place. It is a feeling. And you can build that feeling even after everything falls apart. So if you are out there dealing with family who sees you as less than you are, who wants to control you or take from you or diminish you, I want you to know something. You are not crazy for setting boundaries. You are not ungrateful for protecting yourself. You are not alone. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who see you as a paycheck instead of a person. I served my country with honor. I was not about to let anyone take that dignity away from me, not even my own blood. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who did not have your best interests at heart? How did you find the strength to stand up for yourself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss future stories. Share this with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find the courage to protect what you have built no matter who tries to take it from you. You deserve that. Remember that.